Welcome to the channel. My name is Matthias. Today, we're going to talk about Brian Klass's book, Corruptible, and we're going to touch on a subject that I find fascinating and also want to share with you guys my personal opinions over this specific subject. And it's the whole idea how certain positions of power sort of attract corruptible people, people that want to take advantage of the system. Basically, institutionally, how the recruitment system works, and it attracts certain people and does not attract certain other people, and that certain cultural institutional views basically lead to a system that creates rotten apples. So, also, this example takes place in the United States way back in 1997 when the Secretary of Defense, through Program 1033, would allow surplus and decommissioned military equipment to be transitioned into law enforcement. And here I'm citing the author that after almost 3 decades, they have transitioned up to $7 billion of military equipment to law enforcement. So we're talking about helicopters, military grade ammunition and gear and weapons, mine resistant vehicles, on and on and on. And all this gear, again, that is for the military and external wars, was finding itself into extremely small police departments all across the United States. I could totally imagine a ton of these police departments going like, holy shit, yes! And just flipping out having all this type of crazy gear. I can imagine many cops having like these war game fantasies, using these vehicles, having this gear. But Klass really wanted to focus at this moment in the book how this whole situation led to a change of culture in many police stations, this militarization of how they viewed their work. Having this gear and vehicles led to them many times just going overkill in many situations. Klass actually even says basically, when you're a hammer, you see everything as a nail. Because we have to differentiate law enforcement and internal security is very, very different in how those forces have to carry themselves and the procedures compared to military forces and external actions in war. And this whole militarization of the police started to attract more violent and aggressive people that maybe they would be channeled much better in the military and working over the seas and not working law enforcement. And many of these police departments really played into this too, having like these really insane recruitment videos showing off all their military gear and just being super gun ho on how they're going to fight crime. So basically, you're extending a calling card to a lot of the wrong people that when they're going to be on their job, they're going to be kicking in a lot of people's teeth. The more aggressive image of the police that you have, the more aggressive police that you're going to have. Now, personally, from my point of view, I can totally see this with ICE now, like this hyper aggressive image that we have of ICE, the Migratory Police of the United States. And a lot of people are putting into question the people that ICE are recruiting and their recruitment process in general. Now, in the case of the police, also another thing that happened during this time is that the recruitment process in many departments had become more lax. And just the really dangerous thing is that a abusive police officer is really hard to put in check when you have like this whole culture of violence, and like no one is going to pretty much rat on them because everyone sort of acts this way. You're going to have like this downward spiral, at least from my point of view, that if there's any whistleblower out there within the force, they're going to be really afraid to talk because there's going to be like this very coercive situation, or even like their life would be in danger. Like, go pick a fight with the police as an institution. It's going to be a really rough ride. And another thing that started to happen with many police forces since they were giving this image of being more militarized, they started to have more and more ex soldiers within the ranks. where in many ways they really sort of didn't have to redefine themselves as police. They still viewed themselves as soldiers within this culture. Now, the author does talk about, yes, thanks to military training, they do make a good fit in many police forces due to their discipline, their knowledge of firearms, and maybe how to deal with like hot situations, complicated situations. But policing the streets within the US, as I mentioned previously, is not the same as patrolling in Baghdad or in Kabul, making policing feel like this perpetual cycle of combat is just really wrong and is going to lead to terrible outcomes and many abuses. And since we're going to have like more violence and more abuse, this leads to departments wanting more gear, and this just goes on in like this endless cycle. The author mentions that departments that have the most of this gear tend to be the departments with most civilian deaths, but he doesn't give out a specific statistic, so I would love to check that out. Now, the author and also myself really established that not all cops are bad apples. It's just this whole culture that creates bad apples, and that there are many upstanding officers that defend the law and do their job properly. Now, to close things out, the author does give the example of the police of New Zealand and how they have really defined their force as public servants, that they're there to help. I think this is like fundamental in how you not only find the police, like anyone that works within the government, like they work for the people, they are public servants, they are there to help. But we're gonna leave this video here. I hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time. Bye.